On the 5th module, when we talked about investing in bonds, bills, and unit trusts, I was excited about this module because I've been in T-bonds, but I've never gotten somebody to explain to me in terms of these treasury bonds. I knew there's a fixed, I knew there's an infrastructure, I knew there's a corporate, but the basics of just understanding how the bond works and the payment really broadened my thinking and my way of investing, and now knowing that I can use a treasury bond as a financial goal. It's an investment vehicle attached to a financial goal. And also, I was always eager to learn about rates. I'd never come across somebody to tell me more about rates. But now in this class, I was able to understand how rates work. And I was really excited to also learn about it. And also understand that every investment option is driven by 3 goals. There is capital preservation, income generation, and capital growth. So where do you attach your investment option? Is it a capital preservation? Is it an income generating investment, or is it capital growth? So those are the things that I picked. So in terms of the various investment portfolios that I had, now I was able to figure out which one lies where. And then, of course, looking at the investment pie chart, the risk and return, and of course, all investments have risks, no guarantee on return. Of course, the higher the risk, the higher the return, and you have to learn from it. Even if it's farming, even if it's business, it's still a high risk. When you involve yourself in a high risk business, of course, there is no guarantee of return, but of course, there's a high return expected out of that. Then in the real estate, in this, I was able now to understand the real estate yield rate, the capital appreciation, the market dynamics, and how to understand it as a long-term investment. It's not a short-term. So when you decide to go to real estate, don't think about it as a short-term, like you want to reap what you sowed immediately. It's a long-term investment, which you'll probably start getting the payback, maybe 10, 15 years going forward. So you have to be really patient when you enter into real estate. Then the most interesting thing is shares. When I was in campus, I got help. So the first help, of course, the excitement, you use it. My parents didn't know I had help, by the way. So at least I can confess now. Yeah, so when I got help, then the second help, there was this thing of buying Kenyan shares. So everybody was going for the Kenyan shares, and there was that excitement if anyone was in campus back then. So I went and bought shares. I just bought because everybody was buying. So opening the CDS account and all those things, just to see, and then you see if the money. Then when I looked at it, I was like, how do I get this money now? You know, there was no knowledge. I'm doing it because there's this group of friends all buying shares. Of course, Safaricom shares came way later after that. And there was that excitement. I was not very enthusiastic about Safaricom, by the way, like everybody else. For some reason, the Kenyan, I think, what I expected didn't meet my expectations, but I still left the money there. Then later, of course, after campus, now I started researching more about how to trade these shares, how to get the money. And the reason I did it, let me just surprise you. My old grandmother, who is 96 years old, used to get a check from Stanchart. Was it KCB? Yeah, I think KCB of dividends. So I was like, how does she know about this? So I got excited because if she gets some check, you know, for these dividends, I think I also need to get one when I'm young, not as old as her, because she can't enjoy the money. But later, of course, you get the dividends. They are good. And then at some point, I became dormant in trading. Then after some point, I think in 2019, I went back to start being active, but not really being active. I sold off the shares. Now I will go back again. So it's all a journey. We learn through it. And in shares, I was able now to understand when I'm buying a share, earnings per share, price to earnings ratio. I didn't know those things. Projected earnings growth, dividend. See, I was feeling thumbed in that class. because now you understand why you should buy KCB shares, not equity shares, why you should buy, maybe another telecom company shares, not Safaricom. Now you are more knowledgeable, which was very good, and I really appreciated that class. For insurance, I think I've mentioned about it. Then there was this module about trusts and wills, and that class, I think it was a very good class, because of course we hear about trust funds, we hear about wills, but most people are not willing. But I realized it's very important to start thinking about your will, as old and as young as you are. It's very, very important, because where I come from, if you die without a will, the courts become your friend. So, and creating a trust, I was able also, of course, to now differentiate the shareholders agreement and the trust deed, so that to define the two, and also now have the discussion with my parents. In fact, I remember my sister, who was supposed to join us, maybe she's on the way coming, she's an advocate. So I even asked her, have you ever told Dad about a will and a trust? And then she's like, yeah, I have told him. He keeps on saying, yeah, he'll think about it. I'm telling mwambie, so that we don't have those problems. And maybe to finalize all the modules that I've mentioned, for taxes, I've done a course on taxes, so it was just more of the review of what I do or I've learned before. And then now there's the implementation part, whereby you have to implement your financial plan. And before that, the investment groups and investment clubs. I would say this one I've learned from my late paternal grandfather, who was, I would say, not very exposed, but when I look at it, when I read yesterday in the group, a professional investor, I realized kumbe he was a professional investor. So he was able to diversify his investments in various investment groups that they formed with old men, a majority who are the late. But I got to have a chat with his best friend, who is still alive, just to find out what was the objective of them forming, these things. And when I went to visit him just the last weekend, and he said that for them, they wanted to create a continuous support for generations to come. They would not want their great-great-grandchildren, not to be able, especially, to access education and not to be exposed. They might not have been so exposed, but they knew the benefits of getting exposed. So, and that's why they formed those investment groups with other men. And of course, as they were aging, they also incorporated their children, who are my parents and my uncles, who also are part of those investment companies. And when I look at it, these really people had a vision. They had a vision board. They might not have known what a vision board is, but they had a vision board of what they wanted to achieve. So I think I've mentioned my aha moments in the process of narrating my journey in Centonomy. But my takeaway message would be, it's important to pay yourself. It doesn't matter. Start with what you have. There's nothing little. Always know there's nothing little. And why I tell you there's nothing little, it's because the beauty about it, when we were given assignments, I could relate with a lot of relatives in the family that I come from. My mom's brother, who is a retired teacher, primary school teacher, has done serious investments, and I really had to ask him, how did you hack doing investment with a meand? Okay, we always think a primary school teacher has very kidogo salary, right? And of course we have seen it when they are talking about increments of teacher salary. And you can imagine him is retired now, I think for 4 years now. And I asked him, how did you manage with 5 children, primary school salary, and still able to do so much? And he said, you have to appreciate what you have. You start with what you have, you work with what you have, you grow what you have. And he told me for them, SACCOs really helped them as teachers. When you remember, Mwalimu SACCO was very strong, so they were able, to borrow loans, know how to pay them, invest here, buy land here, buy shares, in fact, I was surprised when he told me that even he bought treasury bonds because he looked at it as his retirement plan. So when those treasury bonds were being floated 15 years, 20 years, he used to say, he used to take a loan from a SACCO. So you'd think he would go buy a car, right? He took a loan from a SACCO and went and bought a treasury bond. So, and he didn't know. In fact, he said he came to Nairobi first, got lost because he was looking for central bank. Somebody started directing him sijui where. But somehow, because he's a teacher, he's alert. He was able to figure out. He went there. He explained to the lady. He even told the lady he has carried money to come and buy. But you see, he didn't know there's a process of opening an account, and then you open an account, and then after opening an account, you need to be given a code. There was that process. He didn't know that he had carried money to come buy it because he had been told by a certain teacher who is a tutor in a teacher's college that treasury bonds are very good things. And when he was explained for it, really made sense to him. So he said, this is my retirement plan. So when I sat down with him, I realized, wow, so you don't have to have a lot of money to start saying you want to invest. Start with what you have. And remember that saving and investment does not wait for the future. As we are told, the shilling today is more valuable than a shilling tomorrow. So you start now, you invest now with what you have, and truly, be patient, you will reap it. Fortunately, he bought his first car after he retired. Cash. He went and bought his car cash. In fact, he says he looked forward to going to Mombasa and shop for a car because now he was not buying on any debts. After educating his kid, after doing everything, now he had put up money and now it got to the amount of the car he wanted. So that's when I learned that you can actually work with what you have, budget it, start little, be patient, and grow it. Thank you very much.